I'm John Hinkle, Senior Pastor of First Presbyterian Church, and this is your Thursday devotion. Usually Bobby does Thursday devotions, but as you know, Bobby is on sabbatical, so you're stuck with me. And I thought for my devotion, because when I'll do my devotion, I'll also be preaching, and so I thought I would focus on an aspect of my sermon that hopefully I'm getting close to finishing. All my stuff is right here, finishing all my, I'm close. I'm really, really close. But I want to read our text for this Sunday, which again, we're focusing on John's epistles to the ancient church, and we're still on John's first epistle. We've moved to the second chapter, and this is starting from verse 15 through 17. John writes, "Do not love the world or anything in the world. For if you love the world, love for the Father is not in you. For everything in the world, the cravings of sinful people, the lust of your eyes, and the boasting of what they have and do, comes not from the Father, but from the world. The world and all its desires pass away. But whoever loves the will of God lives forever." Now, what I find so interesting about the text, and if you focus on John's words in his epistle, you might catch it too. So, just a little brief kind of historical note. We're not sure who wrote the epistles of John. There are two schools of thought. One is the gospel writer, the Gospel of John, the person who wrote the gospel, wrote the epistles, and there's a lot of arguments that lead people to that conclusion. For example, the way the gospel is written is kind of in the same form and fashion the way the epistles is written. Same message that you find in the gospel, you find in the epistles, and they have share the kind of the same themes and outlooks on life. Or the other thought is that if it's not the gospel writer, it is a student of the gospel writer, which, as we've talked about before, was kind of the tradition of the time. A teacher or a rabbi would have a group of students who would follow that rabbi into the world. They would learn from that rabbi, and then they would go out on their own, proclaiming the message that they had learned first from their rabbi, and now they are doing it on their own. And some school of thought is that this came from the school of John or the students of John. Either way, if you look at our text for Sunday and you focus on the Gospel of John, there's this stark tension with another verse. Do you know what verse I'm talking about? Of course, it's John 3:16. "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have life and life eternal." And I love verse 17 just as much, which goes, "For God didn't send his Son to condemn the world. God sent his one and only Son to save the world." So here in the Gospel of John, we have, "For God so loved the world." And here in the epistles of John, it says, "Do not love the world or anything in the world." Do you feel that tension? It was so palatable to me that I actually had to dive deeper into it. What's going on here? How in one breath in the gospel we said, "For God so loved the world," and now in the epistles we're being told, "Don't love the world." Well, which is it? Was it that God loved the world so much that he gave Jesus, but then the world rejected Jesus, and so now don't love the world? God's saying don't love the world? And if you can't love the world, how can we be a reflection of Jesus to the world? You see the problem? So going deeper and exegeting the text, I looked up in my Greek lexicon the word world. What word is used in the Greek for the word world? And it's the word cosmos. The cosmos. Well, interesting enough, the Greek word cosmos can actually take on two forms and functions. It can either mean the people of the world, or better yet, the people of the world in which God created, or it is simply the stuff in the world. And in the Greek thinking, there's a big difference, right? In the Greek thinking, the people of the world that God created is special. It's blessed. The stuff of the world is just stuff. God loved the people of the world. God doesn't love the stuff of the world. And as you read the epistles, John kind of lays out for us what that stuff is. He says, listen, that stuff is the craving of sinful people. It's desiring stuff that's here today and gone tomorrow. He says it's the lust in our eyes. It's boasting of what we have created, not what God has created. That's what John's talking about. That's what we need to avoid. That's what we need as believers to understand and be careful that we too do not fall in that trap. I said a couple of Sundays ago, listen, when John talks about that in Jesus there's light, without Jesus there's darkness. But I said, the most tragic thing isn't people who live in darkness who have always lived in darkness. They don't know any better. They've always been in darkness. It's what they know. The tragedy is when you've actually been in the light, but you choose to go into the darkness. And for John, going into the darkness is when we desire the stuff of the world over against the love that God gives us. So I'm still working on the sermon. I'm still kind of working it out. It feels long to me, so I may cut out some stuff. I don't know. We'll see. But I hope to see you Sunday. And please join me Saturday for your Saturday morning review of your Sunday morning sermon. We will see you later, and I'll got to hit my button on my watch.